Why men fall in love too late. Have you ever wondered why some men only realize they loved someone after she's already gone? Why they suddenly become emotional months or even years after the relationship ended? Why they fight for someone they once took for granted, only when it's too late? Here's the uncomfortable truth. For many men, love doesn't arrive first. Loss does. And by the time their heart catches up with what their mind couldn't understand, the person they loved has already learned how to live without them. Today, we're exploring the psychology behind why men often fall in love too late and why timing isn't always about fate, but about the way the human mind processes emotion. Imagine this. There's a man named Daniel. He meets someone incredible. She's patient. She listens. She supports him through stressful days. She celebrates his wins. She forgives his flaws. She doesn't ask for perfection. She simply asks to feel chosen. At first, Daniel enjoys having her around. He likes her. He cares about her. But deep down, he believes she'll always be there. So he focuses on work, his goals, his friends, his distractions. When she says she feels distant, he tells her she's overthinking. When she asks for more effort, he promises he'll do better later. Later never comes. Eventually, she stops asking. And one day, she leaves. Daniel feels relieved at first. No more difficult conversations. No more emotional pressure. No more expectations. He tells himself it was probably for the best. But something strange begins to happen. Weeks later, the silence grows louder. The apartment feels emptier. His achievements don't feel as satisfying. Songs suddenly remind him of her. Restaurants become memories. Simple routines become painful reminders. That's when it hits him. Not when she loved him. Not when she stayed. But when she's gone. Why does this happen? The answer begins with something psychologists call emotional processing differences. Many boys grow up hearing messages like, "Don't cry. Be strong. Handle it yourself." Over time, emotions become something to suppress instead of explore. As adults, many men become experts at functioning, but beginners at feeling. They don't necessarily ignore emotions on purpose. Sometimes they simply don't recognize them while they're happening. They mistake comfort for routine, love for convenience, connection for something that will always exist. Only when that connection disappears does the brain finally create enough emotional space to process what was actually there. Ironically, distance creates clarity. There's another psychological reason. Human beings adapt surprisingly quickly. When someone constantly loves us, our brain begins treating that love as normal. It's called hedonic adaptation. What once felt extraordinary slowly becomes ordinary. The morning texts, the hugs, the check-ins, the little acts of care. Instead of feeling grateful, the brain files them away as expected until they're gone. Suddenly, everything that felt ordinary becomes priceless. Not because it changed, because it's no longer available. Think about oxygen. You never appreciate breathing until someone takes the air away. Relationships often work the same way. Here's another story. Marcus was always chasing the next milestone. A promotion, a new apartment, a better salary. He believed love could wait. His girlfriend believed love needed attention. While he was building the future, she felt forgotten in the present. Eventually, she left. Months later, Marcus achieved everything he had worked for. The promotion came. The new car arrived. The bigger apartment became reality. But there was no one waiting to celebrate with him. Success suddenly echoed. For the first time, he realized he hadn't been building a future with someone. He'd been building one without them. That realization hurt more than failure ever could. Psychologists also talk about something called delayed emotional awareness. Stress consumes mental resources. When someone's constantly solving problems, meeting deadlines, trying to survive, their emotional brain often takes a back seat. Only after life becomes quieter does unresolved emotion finally surface. That's why many people experience heartbreak long after the breakup. The feelings were always there. They simply hadn't been processed yet. There's another uncomfortable truth. Sometimes people don't value certainty. They value possibility. When someone is always available, the brain assumes they'll remain available. Scarcity changes perception. The moment someone truly leaves, the brain shifts into protection mode. What did I lose? Could I have prevented this? Will I ever find that again? The emotional intensity isn't always created by the breakup. Sometimes, the breakup finally uncovers emotions that were buried beneath familiarity. But here's where people often misunderstand. Falling in love late isn't always proof that someone loved deeply. Sometimes, it's regret. Sometimes, it's loneliness. Sometimes, it's guilt. And sometimes, it's genuine love finally reaching consciousness. Those feelings may look identical on the surface, but psychologically, they're very different. Missing someone's presence isn't always the same as understanding their value. This is why some men come back months later. Not because the relationship suddenly became perfect, but because memory edits reality. The brain naturally softens painful moments over time. Arguments fade. Laughter remains. Frustration disappears. Warmth survives. What once felt ordinary becomes idealized. That's nostalgia doing its work. Here's something else worth considering. Many men are taught how to pursue. Very few are taught how to maintain. Winning someone's heart feels exciting. Keeping someone's heart requires emotional consistency, and consistency rarely gets applause. It happens in quiet moments. Listening, showing up, remembering small details, choosing the same person again, even after the honeymoon phase ends. Real love isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in repeated small ones. But this conversation isn't just about men. It's about anyone who believes they'll always have more time. Love quietly disappears long before people physically leave. Someone usually leaves emotionally first. They stop expecting change. They stop believing conversations matter. They stop imagining a shared future. By the time they walk away, their heart has often been packing for months. The breakup simply informs the other person that the journey already began. If you're listening to this while you're still with someone who loves you, don't wait for absence to teach you appreciation. Don't wait for silence to reveal conversations you should have had. Don't wait until memories become your only way of experiencing someone's kindness. Love is easiest to recognize before it's gone, not after. And if you've already become the person who realized too late, Don't waste your pain. Learn from it. Growth isn't about wishing for another chance with the same person. It's about becoming someone who won't repeat the same pattern with the next one. Sometimes life doesn't give us second chances. It gives us second lessons. The difference is whether we pay attention. One final thought. Maybe the greatest tragedy isn't that someone leaves. Maybe it's discovering the depth of your own love, only after you've lost the opportunity to express it. Because love spoken too late often sounds exactly like regret. And regret is one of the heaviest emotions the human heart can carry. If today's conversation made you see relationships differently, consider subscribing to the Hard Truth Podcast for more psychology-based insights into love, attachment, and human behavior. Because understanding people always begins with understanding ourselves. And before you leave, ask yourself this. Are you appreciating the people you love while they're still beside you? Or are you waiting for loss to teach you what love already should have?